everybody, and welcome to the Everything Voiceover Podcast. My name is Justin D. Torres. The Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by The Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. Today, we're going to be continuing our Forging Your Path Into Voiceover project, where the last week we went into the investments and budgeting for the in-studio actor, and this week we're going to be talking about the investments and budgeting for the home studio actor. Now, if you listened to the last couple of podcasts, there was a podcast called Questions You Should Ask Yourself to figure out whether or not you're going to be a home studio actor or an in-studio actor. And the reason why, once again, I'll repeat, the reason why I say people should be one or the other is because it's a huge time investment, it's a huge learning curve, and it's also a lot of money that you're going to be throwing into different directions. So I usually suggest people start with one or the other. And both are definitely good paths to get into voiceover, and both are definitely relevant. And if you looked at that and you looked at your time and your effort and how much money you've got, you might have gone into the section where you're like, oh, I think I'd rather be a home studio actor. Maybe you don't live in a metropolitan area. Maybe you don't maybe you have a lot of time on your hands to learn aspects of editing, or maybe you already know editing, or maybe you already know how to produce audio, or you already have a little home studio inside, or you have a lot of time on your hands and you want to be able to utilize that time. Because unfortunately, if you're going into the in-studio actor route, you're going to be relying on coaches, and you're going to be relying on classes and networking and trying to figure out your way into the agent pool, and that's kind of like dependent on their time rather than yours. But if you've got a lot of time, you can be a home studio actor and just start getting jobs and working through auditions at home, which is definitely a different route. But unfortunately, the pay is a little bit different because you're a non-union actor, and like I said, if you want to listen to that four or five questions to ask yourself to be a voice actor, go ahead and check that out. It's two podcasts back, but right now we're going into the investments and budgeting for the home studio actor. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to give you a look into what you're going to need if you want to go the home studio route. You're probably going to be getting your return on investments back quicker because you're going to be actually going out for jobs. Now, I'm going to assume that you have the following items already. So just take a good listen to make sure you have these things, because if you don't, you're going to have to get them. Number one is a pretty decent computer. Now, we're talking around 3 years old or less. If you want to go buy a new one, maybe a refurbished one, or the cheapest desktop out there will totally do fine. One quick note, if you're using a laptop with a little touchpad, that's going to be pretty hard to do because you're going to be doing a lot of mouse moves. You're going to be, with editing, you're going to be doing a lot of moving around. So you don't want to just use your one finger in the middle of a laptop to do it. You might want to really seriously consider getting a desktop with a mouse pad. Or if you have a laptop, just get a mouse, plug it in, and use that instead of the old touchpad. That might be even better for you. Number two, you got to have internet. I'm assuming if you're listening to this on SoundCloud or iTunes or anything like that, you probably have internet. Faster the better, but the minimum I'd say is DSL. The lower end is totally fine. You're just going to be uploading, and that you're not going to be doing anything terribly upload intensive unless you're doing like larger jobs. But even then, if you have DSL, it's going to be relatively easy. You're never going to be dealing with gigabyte files. The other thing you're going to need is a closet you can clear out, or a willingness to makeshift one out of parts of your house, like the corners or something like that. Other ways you can do that is you can get under a quilt and do all your voiceover. I wouldn't recommend it. It's going to be sweaty, it's going to be hard, and it's going to be terribly noisy depending on how you move while you're doing voiceover. The other way that you can do is if you have a closet full of clothes, just like section out the middle of it, and then put your microphone in the middle of those sections so that your microphone on two sides is going to be surrounded by clothes, which is good. That's a natural soundproofing ability. That's what I did for the longest time, and it wasn't the best sounding, but it did work, and I did get jobs from it. The other ways to do it is, like I said earlier, pick a corner of your room and just be ready to start tacking crap to the walls to get it to work. And maybe even do like one of those portable closets to put behind you to make sure that the stuff behind you isn't bouncing off of it. So many million different ways, and you can go ahead and look it up look up voiceover home studio on YouTube, and you can get all the information about how to set up your home studio. Maybe I'll do an episode on it, maybe I won't, because I think it's really dependent on the space. I don't think anyone can tell you how to do a home studio. You have to kind of like work at it, and believe me, it's been a process. I'm here in New York, and I've moved 6, 7, 8 times, going from sublet to sublet, and I've had to redo a home studio every time. So the other thing you need to do is you have to have a relatively quiet space. Now, that's not how I said have to, but you should have a relatively quiet space. If that means that you can only really do it at midnight or like 10 a.m. or at 6 a.m. when people aren't around, then, you may have to do that. Other ways to think about it is I used to live next to an airport. So every 10 minutes I'd have to stop and do it again. So these are things that you have to deal with, and I've done it, and I've done jobs with it. It's just a matter of telling the client, if you're on the phone with them, it's like, oh yeah, just so you know, there might be a plane going up every now and then. And, just know that it's better if you have relatively quiet moments. Like, if you live next to a freeway, then it's going to be tough. Or if you live right on a ground floor where there's constant traffic, constant stuff, then you better find a spot that's really quiet because you really want to soundproof it as much as you can. But, 90% of us can find a space, and don't do it in the bathroom. Bad idea. Okay, now that we've gotten through the stuff you have to have, which is a decent computer, internet, a closet you can use that you're willing to makeshift into a studio, and a relatively quiet space, here we are going on to the major investments. The major investments of a non-union home studio actor. All right, here's your major investments. Number one, you're going to have training. Now, this is similar to 3 podcasts ago. These are things you're always going to have to be doing. Training, classes or coaching. You're talking online or offline. Offline is much better because you're going to have people in front of you. You're going to be actually speaking with a human being. They're going to be listening to you, and it feels like it's real. I still have a very hard time watching and learning through classes that are by Skype, because it's hard for me to just sit in my room and be as attentive as I would be if I was out in the classroom, because I'd be forcing myself to do it. Maybe I just have ADD, but it doesn't really work out for me. Now, if you're going to get coached, you want to make sure the coach knows that you're going into the home studio route. So you want to bug them for all the information that they've got, whether it's recommendations on mics, info on like microphones you should use, or editing software that they use, or home studio. If they've done a home studio at home, look at their setup, because sometimes I was with a coach where she had her own home studio as well. Look at it. Bug them for all the information. Make sure that they know you're doing that so that they can hone the fact that you're going to be doing a lot of auditions. So maybe they'll have information on how to take on all those auditions. Maybe they'll tell you, oh, you should only go out for e-learning. Try and go for those should be your priorities, and then you can try the video games and the other routes later. Bug the person you're coaching, or even the person who's teaching the class, is like, what do you think I should do? What should I audition for when I'm doing a home studio thing? And hopefully they say, yes, you should be doing it. And the other option is like, hopefully they steer you into ways to filter out and make your time more efficient. So yeah, training and classes and coaching. Training is the number one thing you're going to be spending money on, and that has to be consistent. And even the more professional you are, the more you should be training, period. Next up is pay-to-play sites or marketing. And I say or marketing, and that's going to be something I'll say more often, because I do recommend people take pay-to-play sites. But then again, if you're a marketer and you know how to email market, or you know how to newsletter market, or you know how to pound the pavement and visit all the digital studios out there and get your name out there, then yeah, you're basically cutting out the middleman of a pay-to-play site, because a pay-to-play site is finding clients that want voiceover talent, and then they're putting them in front of you, and they're taking their cut of it. And so it's a lazy voiceover artist uses pay-to-play sites, but a savvy marketing voiceover person doesn't need pay-to-play sites. So the next episode of the podcast, we'll talk about whether you should marketing to market or not to market, which is, I have to tell you, I've not mastered marketing, but I know how to market yourself to digital studios, and you can easily form a career out of that. But it's hard, because, you could market yourself to 20 digital studios, but if they don't need voiceover actors, then you just kind of wasted that 10 shot. So you have to be really doing a lot of work for that. But so that's why I chose pay-to-play sites. You're going to want to get voices.com. Voices.com, I know people talk crap about it. There's a lot of people who love to talk after they've left it, or they love to talk after they've got thousands upon thousands of dollars coming in for their jobs on a monthly basis. And it's easy to tell the person who's out there just trying to figure out how to do it that they can't use this particular site. But Yeah. There's it's a $350 per year, but they also have a monthly service that's about 40 or $50, which I would recommend. Yeah, do it for a month and put all your effort into doing auditions as much as possible, and hopefully pull some of them jobs. I'd recommend doing monthly. Don't put up $350 for a year. It is cheaper than the monthly, but you want to know whether you want to do this or not. So you're going to have to put into like a pay-to-play site. There are other pay-to-play sites like Voice Realm and all those other ones that do give you a lot of, like Voice 123, they give you a lot of auditions as well. I would recommend doing voices.com because there's more auditions and they're much higher quality in that their minimum is $100 per job. So you don't want to do $25 jobs or $30 jobs or $60 jobs because that really is bottom of the barrel money-wise, and you'll end up hating yourself if you just do a million of those, and you end up spending hours and hours doing those. So the reason why you're doing pay-to-play sites is this is going to fast-track your learning much faster than in-studio actors, because you're not in-studio actors are relying on classes for training, and solely classes, or maybe they're doing like meetups and hanging out with people and trying to do scripts and whatnot, but they don't. I'll be honest with you, I've done a million classes and no one's gotten together afterwards and done like a practice voiceover. This was just solely, those classes were just solely to figure out if they like it or not, and hopefully use the skills that they had. You will put in more hours if you have a pay-to-play site in your back pocket and you're trying to get jobs through there, and you'll get better quicker. But similar to most things, it's going to be a grind. It's going to be hard, and it's going to be tough. All right, this is a good time to say that the Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by the Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. Voice Realm is another good pay-to-play site, and if you want to give that a shot too, I do think that there's a higher level of voiceover actor there, and they're more seasoned voice actors there, so the competition might be a little bit better. But also, there's not as many auditions, definitely not as many auditions as Voices.com. I'd say if you get really good at Voices.com and you're starting to pull money there, then if you want to supplement that with a Voice Realm account, that definitely would be a good idea. I definitely would do that. I'm actually considering getting rid of my Voice 123 account and just solely going Voices.com and Voice Realm and the other agencies that I'm working with as well. Because Voice 123 has just not been able to pull the jobs. I've gotten very few auditions, and it's not really worth the time and money. That might change in the months to come, and I might change my mind. But anyway, the next one is that you'll need. First two are training and pay-to-play sites or marketing. The third one is editing software. As we all know, Audacity is free. It's a great software. Use it. The next big thing that's out there is Reaper, which I have videos that are set up. If you go to everythingvoiceover.com, you'll be able to see them there. Reaper's really good too, and a couple of things that Reaper does, and it's a $60 software, and that gives you the license to use it however you want. The good thing about that is they have, number one, is multiple renders. So like I can edit all my auditions together, label every audition to what they are. Like this is Xerox and this is Dell. And then at the end, put render regions, and then suddenly every one of them gets named that name. So this will be named Xerox, this will be named Dell, and it all gets put in together into like 30 files. And it's great because I don't have to individually render every one of them. That was a pain in the butt, and I did that forever. So between that one, it saves me a lot of time, and plus, it's a very good software, and there's a lot of good stuff on YouTube that will help you get it set up, because you have to get it set up. It's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but you gotta set it up. Gotta get it set up. The next one, number 4, is a microphone. Now, there's two types of microphones. There's XLR microphones, and there are USB microphones. XLR microphones have like a 3-prong thing at the end of it that requires you to get another 3-prong thing, which is a preamp, and you got to put the cord plugs into the preamp. Now, XLR mics, if you're looking at the most professional microphones out there, we're talking Neumann and Sennheiser. They're all XLR. So if you're looking to go for a long-term investment, you may want to get a cheaper XLR mic. There's a couple of good ones out there, like Rode, and I did a review of the Caddy 100S. I think Massdrop was doing a bunch of like little $299 jobs for that. I think it's a great mic. It's one of the better mics out there. But, if you do get an XLR mic, you're going to have to get a preamp, and a preamp is about $200, maybe $100. You can get cheaper ones for around $100. Right now I'm using the red, the Focusrite Red, which I upgraded from my quad, my Roland quad, and it works perfectly. It works really well. And like I said, these are investments and budgets for a starting out actor, and you may not want to use an XLR and a preamp because it is a lot of money. If you don't, you're going to use the USB route. What you're listening to right now, what I'm on, is the Blue Yeti mic, the blackout Blue Yeti mic. It might be under $100 now. It's a really good mic. It works very well. I'm a huge fan of it. Is it good enough for broadcast quality stuff? Not really. I think it's just a little bit less a pro about it, but then again, I haven't really soundproofed this room. Right now I'm sitting in front of my computer. I'm not putting it into a closet somewhere, so it might sound just as good if I put it in the closet. So don't worry about getting the most expensive microphone out there. I would say that you get the cheaper end microphone. Don't be afraid to use USB. And then make it a goal of yours to upgrade that microphone and make the money to upgrade it with your own jobs. That's a great way to do it. I mean, there's no reason to spend thousands of dollars right off the bat unless you have it. If you do have it, then yeah, go for the gold. Get what I have, like a Sennheiser 416, or get a Neumann and get a big preamp and get an amazing computer, and it'll all work out well. You're gonna have to learn it, but do it. The next, number 5, now let's go over what we've done so far. Training, pay-to-play sites or marketing, editing software, 4, microphone, and now number 5, headphones. Now, headphones, what are headphones? Well, we're not talking about the earbuds, we're talking about the over-the-ear headphones. I'm wearing them right now. I'm wearing a Sennheiser, I can't remember the number of it, but I'm wearing Sennheiser headphones. I also bought AKGs, which are awesome. Here's the reason why you want headphones. When you are listening to yourself do this job, whether it's voiceover or even a podcast, you want to be able to hear where the plosives are. And I'm going to do a little plosive for you. So if you hear a p like that, you want to know that it happened. Unfortunately, I'm not going to edit that out because it's an example. You want to be able to hear that, and you will not be able to hear that unless you are listening while you are recording. Now, if you are doing editing, you don't necessarily have to use headphones. This is my belief, only my belief, not everyone else's. I think, personally, if I have headphones on for long enough, my headphones actually end up degrading due to the sweat. But I do not edit with headphones on, but I do record with headphones on because I want to be able to hear when there's a movement. Like if I go like this, I want to be able to hear that I did that because I wouldn't be able to hear it if I didn't have my headphones on. So, yeah, you do need it to record. Number 6, the tablet. Tablets for scripts. In the old days, we used to print out scripts and put them onto a nice little what is it? Not a table, but whatever you used to put music scripts on. That's what I would do. I'd clamp printouts to that, and I would print out every one of them, and I'd use one side, and then I'd use the other side, and it was just chaos. I thank the Lord that I bought my first Kindle and iPad. And I did not have to use that anymore. Oh my goodness, that is so hard. I would say it's a must-have for these new kids out there. If you want to get into the voiceover, you have to have a tablet of some sort. Now we're talking about Kindles, iPads, or Samsungs, whatever is out there, even the cheapest one out there. It just has to work. It just has to work. You want to be able to flip and go through jobs and go through voices.com auditions, and you want to be able to go through each one of them as quickly as possible. So I remember when I first got a Kindle back in the day, it was slow, but it was better than paper, but it was very slow. Now I've got myself an iPad mini, and it works perfectly fine. It's been doing it for 3 or 4 years. One day I'll probably end up upgrading it to another iPad mini, but this is just amazing, and it works really well. And now number 7, the extras. These are things that you may need depending on your situation. Number 1 is a mic stand. You want to be able to stand up during auditions. This is my personal opinion. If you're doing audiobooks, you might want to sit down, but I know a lot of people who have audiobooks, and they love sitting down. I love standing up because it makes me more active. If you listen to my auditions, they're a little bit more active than me right now, even though I'm doing a podcast. Another thing you might want to get is a windscreen or a pop screen or pop filter for your microphone. I do not have a pop filter on my Blue Yeti right now, but if you've got a really good mic, or even those ultra-sensitive XLR mics, you want to put a pop screen on there because it'll hit every P that you see. And that's something that if you're not well versed into how to make sure that your P's and your T's are not suddenly destroying the mic. You may want to invest in other pay-to-play sites like VoiceRealm or Voice123. If you've got the Moxie and you want to just start shooting off auditions everywhere, every which way, put in the money and be able to do it. I mean, if you have the time to do that many auditions, then do it. That may be something that you want to do. Another possible extra is a Dropbox account. If you get a big Dropbox account, now this is something that that the Booth Junkie on YouTube suggested, and I did, and I started changing my stuff up to work at it. I have a Dropbox account that I have on my computer. That is my voiceover thing. Those are all my jobs and everything. And as I upload, and every day I just hit upload, and then I know that all my jobs are sitting up there on a Dropbox, so that just in case my computer dies, they'll always be there. So it's like its own backup. And it was a good idea for me because I've got a lot of stuff. But it may be something you might want to give a shot to. The next thing you might want to look for is a headshot. You want to get a decent headshot if you want to start doing really professional stuff. Do you need it right now? Probably not. There's plenty of people who just have an icon, or plenty of people who just have just a picture of themselves next to the microphone. That works perfectly fine, especially when you're doing pay-to-play sites. You don't need that much stuff. So maybe at one point you will want to get a headshot, and that's a little costly venture, maybe $200 or to as much as $1,000. Just know what you're spending, and I hate to say this, but I think it doesn't get you any jobs. There might be a couple of people who look so good that a client's like, I want to work with them, but I don't think that's possible, or maybe it is. I don't know. I don't think a headshot is. I think headshots are great for actors, not so much voice actors. The other thing you might want to get is a website. Now that's going to be a time sink and a money sink, and who knows what other kind of things it's going to be. Maybe connecting it to your social media account and suddenly doing marketing for your website. That's a whole different monster. You might want to do that. If you know how to do that, then do it. But if you don't, that may not be something you're gonna need. I mean, I get maybe 1 or 2 jobs from my website a year, but I haven't really put in that much effort to advertise and other stuff like that. Maybe if I did more into that, I'd be able to get more jobs. The other thing you might want to get is a demo. Now, this is a huge. This could be a horrible thing, or it could be an amazing thing. As you start getting more professional and you start trying to get into the in-studio route, which is the last episode, demos end up being very good for you, especially if they're professional and if they've got you in contact with people who are agents or people who are casting directors. So then it's very useful along those lines. But for an home studio actor, a demo is just there to help you make sure you've got something up there. Sometimes, if a demo is that great, a client will listen to you as like, that's who I want. I think that's still rare. I think as long as a client has the option of putting up an audition and then having 100 people listen to it, they probably will do that one instead. And they might keep you still in mind, but to know what you sound like on the actual script is so much more valuable than just a demo of you doing other scripts. And also the demo might be produced in another studio somewhere. So the demo may not be an example of how your job is going to be. If your demo is on a Neumann and then suddenly you get into like this home studio route and they've hired you and they think you're using a Neumann and you're using this Blue Yeti, it'll be obvious, and you need to make it clear that demo is not a demo of your home studio. That's a demo that was created in a professional studio. Now, these are the extras, are all on a case-by-case basis, but the top six, now we're talking about the training, pay-to-play sites or marketing, editing software, microphone, headphones, and tablet. Those are all stuff you must have. Now, when it comes to those top 6, they don't have to be the most expensive around, but they can't be the cheapest either. Classes have to be good and well received. They have to be useful. People have to come out of it and be, and you have to get something out of it. You have to really get something out of it, whether it be good skills or specific skills or just a contact with a good teacher that will help you. Classes have to be good, and don't be afraid to not do a class if it's not well received. Coaches need to be extremely helpful. If you're going on a one-to-one, you're paying top dollar for it, you want to be able to milk the crap out of that coach. They have to be very good, and they have to be they have to be versatile enough to work with you and know that what you're trying to do. Editing software has to work on the computer that you use. If you're using Mac, Twisted Wave is a good difference than Reaper. Audacity works on both. Headphones can be, middle range. They don't have to be the Sennheisers and the AKGs, but they have to be, over-the-ear headphones, and they have to be pretty good. Studio monitoring headphones or monitoring headphones have a tendency to be better. And if you can find the cheaper version or a used version of it, maybe not a used version, but like a refurbished version, that might be something you go to, and that can be cheaper. Microphones can be as low as the Blue Yeti that I'm using right now at about $100. You can find a cheap tablet anywhere, maybe even a used tablet. You can also use your phone in the studio, but depending on where your phone is at and depending on if it's a dark studio or not, you might hurt your eyes and get a headache, which is not a good idea. So, and the other thing you need to budget is your time. Now, this is a huge one. You need to spend your time on these things. Your time is going to be spent in attempting to be a home studio actor. You're going to be spending your time on 5 things. 1, learning from a coaching or a class. Number 2, practicing through auditions on pay-to-play sites or sending auditions to clients you marketed to. So you're going to be practicing through that. Number 3, you're going to be learning to edit through the practice that you're doing, and you're going to be learning to edit through YouTube videos. You're going to be learning to edit through books and everything like that. You're going to be learning to edit through the tutorials that are made by Reaper. The other thing is you're going to be spending your time setting up your studio. This is going to be an adventure. You're going to be using a million different things when it comes to towels, blankets, twisty ties, wood, anything that works. Rubber bands, whatever you can muster. Old clothes. Some people have gone to get like actual mattresses. Use your mattresses like this. Who knows? This is you're going to spend a lot of time setting up your home studio. And number 5, you're going to be spending time studying your competition and finding your own voice, figuring out what you sound like, figure out what you can sound like, listening to commercials, listening to the radio, listening to, SoundCloud, listening to there's a sound bank or something like that. I can't remember the name of it. It's VoiceBank. Yeah, voicebank.net has a bunch of demos from actual legitimate union amazing voice actors, and that might be someone you listen to and you're like, oh, I sound like them. That's great. Sound like them. Sound more like them. Sound better than them. Get the tone that they have, or figure it out through there. That's going to be a lot of your time is going to be spent on those 5 things. We're talking about learning from your coaches, practicing your auditions, learning editing, setting up your studio, and studying your competition and finding your voice. Now let's talk numbers. Let's talk turkey. Let's talk numbers, figuring out how much this is going to cost. Well, training is going to be around $100 to $600 per month, maybe even more. $100 is pretty on the low end, but you might be able to find a $100 class that goes twice a month or something like that. Pay-to-play sites are looking at $40 to $100 a month, or you can go the yearlies for $350 a year. That's just as $40 a month can be a lot of money when it comes to like a whole year of it. So make sure that if you're doing the monthly and you figure out, I'm going to be doing this for a while, go ahead and upgrade to the $350 a year. Software can be anything from free for Audacity to $60 for Reaper, or I don't know how much Twisted Wave is, but I'm sure it's probably relatively reasonable, $60 to $100, maybe even less. Microphones, you can be low as $100 for the old Blue Yeti that you're listening to right now, or $300 above. But unfortunately, those XLRs will need a preamp, and preamps can be $100 to $200 or more, and the microphone itself could be upwards of $300, $400, $500, maybe even $1,000, and they've got as much as $3,000. But like I said, you're new, don't spend it all in one place. You want to use that. You can use that money. If I had the choice between getting a Sennheiser and getting a Blue Yeti with an extra $900 to spend on training, use the $900 on training. Headphones, anywhere from $75 to $200. Don't get the Beats headphones. Beats headphones do not work for voiceover. A good thing to do is go to a voiceover Facebook group and ask them what kind of headphones do you guys use, and what should you go for cheaper wise. The reason why I say Beats don't really work is because they add stuff to the sound. So if your client was using Beats headphones to listen to it, yeah, that'd be the same thing. But if they're using something else, it may sound very different. Sometimes they add bass to it when there should not be bass added. If you for all those things, microphones, headphones, software, voiceover talent that is in the same situation, their reviews will trump all of other reviews. You want to hear what other people are using. And if you're looking at an iPad, it's about $300, and I use the iPad that doesn't connect to the internet because that costs an extra large amount of money. I use the one that I can hook into my Wi-Fi. Other tablets can run as low as $100, some even less, depending on where you get it. You might get it from China or something. So we're looking at about $500 or above just to start the bare bones setup. Even that $500 is a tough one. You may want to invest a little bit more because you might end up replacing a lot of that stuff. And that's a majority of it. Now that you've seen the cost and the things you're going to have to do as a home studio actor, you got to ask yourself the questions again. Do I have the money to get this started? Do I have the time to learn the skills like editing, recording, and marketing? Do you have the passion to hack it out and keep at it, even if you know you're going to fail a lot early on? You may not pull a job for the first year. I'd say definitely expect that the first year is going to be tough. I hate to say this to guys, but like when I was doing the first jobs, it was a good 6 or 7 months until I started doing it right, and I started getting jobs. So you might be right out the gate killing it. That's great, but expect a learning process. Like if you're going to be a mechanic and you're starting to learn if you're going to be a mechanic and you're going to mechanic school or you're going to engineering school and you start doing mechanical work early in your first year, you're not going to do it that well, or you may not get a job right out the bat. You get better at it, you get more jobs. Simple as that. In conclusion, I hope this wasn't very negative for you guys, but you can do this, all right? I've done it. There's a million other people have done it. You just have to want it. Give yourself a break from time to time. Know that it's a process. You can do it. You got to want it. It's going to be a tough road, but you can do it. I do it for hours every day, and I just look back, and it'll feel like a grind, but you can do it. Trust me. If you're the home studio route, there's plenty of information out there and people who know what they're doing, and don't get discouraged. Just know it's a process, and be lenient with yourself, and also be able to upgrade where you need to upgrade and change your studio. Maybe you're next to a refrigerator and you didn't realize it. Move your studio. It's going to be a pain in the butt, but you can do it. It's the key of being a good home studio actor is to be flexible. Be flexible and be creative and do what you need to get done. Now, this has been part 3B of the Forging Your Path into Voiceover, where we go into investing and budgeting for the home studio actor. The final episode will be, we'll try and get in the next couple of days because I took a week off, unfortunately. The final episode will be to market or not to market. Now, we'll dive into the crazy, weird, and frustrating abyss of going into the small business field, and that's a whole other skill in itself, and I don't pretend to be a professional at it, but I will give you the insights that I have on my attempts to do marketing, and sometimes it's just a little easier to do the pay-to-play sites. I'll be 100% honest with you. Sometimes it's a little bit easier, but I give it its fair shake, and I want to do marketing well. Believe me, I want to spend as much time in marketing, and I'll tell you all about that in the next podcast. I was going to go into it all right there, but I'll go on to the next podcast. The Everything Voiceover Podcast is brought to you by The Voice Realm, where only professional voice actors are listed. My name is Justin D. Torres. This has been the Everything Voiceover Podcast. Head to everythingvoiceover.com and check us out there. Look us up on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter at EverythingV. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you guys are enjoying your summer, and have a great day. Take care.